You've been sold a lie. It's a comfortable lie, one whispered in financial news segments and splashed across glossy magazine covers. It's the story of the great wealth transfer. You know the narrative. A tidal wave of capital, trillions of dollars, cascading from the baby boomer generation down to their millennial and Gen Z children. It's painted as a great rebalancing, a demographic inevitability that will fund your startup, secure your retirement, and finally let you buy that house. But what if I told you this transfer is not a gift, but a heist? What if this story, the one you're banking your financial future on, is the single greatest piece of financial misdirection of our time? The great wealth transfer, as it's being sold to you, is a myth. It's a systemic fraud, engineered to make you complacent while the tracks of economic mobility are being ripped up right from under you. You, the professional, the one who followed the rules, got the degree, climbed the ladder. You are the primary target of this deception. Because while you're waiting for a ship that will never come in, your future is being actively, methodically, and legally stolen. Let's dismantle this fantasy, piece by piece, using the very data they don't want you to connect. The headline numbers are, admittedly, staggering. Cerulli Associates, a leading financial research firm, projects that up to $84 trillion will pass from older generations to their heirs through the year 2045. 84 trillion. It's a number so vast it feels like a universal basic income for an entire generation. But here is the critical question, the one that unravels the entire narrative. Who precisely is receiving this transfer? The answer is not millennials. The answer is not Gen Z. The answer is overwhelmingly the children of the already rich. This isn't an intergenerational wealth transfer. It is an intra-dynastic wealth consolidation. Let's look at the Federal Reserve's own survey of consumer finances. It's the gold standard for this data. As of the latest reports, the top 10% of American households hold nearly 70% of the nation's entire wealth. The top 1%, they hold over 30%. Now contrast that with the bottom 50% of the country. Half the population, they hold a mere 2.5% of the wealth. So when we talk about an $84 trillion transfer, we are not talking about a broad dispersal of capital. We are talking about the 70% of wealth held by the top decile being passed down, largely untaxed, to the next generation of that same top decile. The economic inequality we see today is not being solved by this transfer. It is being cemented, calcified into a permanent financial aristocracy. The vast majority of people are on the outside of this transaction, looking in. They are spectators, not participants. Even for the few in the upper middle class who might see a sliver of this, there's another cruel twist: timing. Baby boomers are living longer, healthier lives, which is wonderful. But financially, it means the average age of inheritance is creeping up. It's now well into the late 50s or early 60s. An inheritance at 60 is not a foundation for life. It's a subsidy for retirement. It doesn't help you buy your first home at 30. It does not help you start a family at 35. It arrives long after the critical battles for financial stability have been won, or for most lost. This is not an accident. This is the result of deliberate mechanisms. Mechanisms of a heist. The first and most potent is asset inflation. For the past 4 decades, and particularly since the financial crisis of 2008, central bank policy has been explicitly designed to inflate the value of financial assets. Quantitative easing, rock-bottom interest rates, these weren't neutral economic tools. They were a fire hose of liquidity aimed directly at the stock market and the housing market. And who owned those assets? Not you, when you were just starting your career. The primary beneficiaries were the baby boomers, who were at their peak earning and asset accumulation years. Look at the S&P 500. From its low in March 2009 to its peak, it surged by over 600%. Look at the Case-Shiller National Home Price Index. It more than doubled in the same period. This wasn't organic growth. This was a policy-driven hyperinflation of the assets owned by one specific wealthy demographic. It created the single largest wealth gap between generations in modern history. The great wealth transfer isn't the transfer of earned income. It's the transfer of this artificially inflated paper wealth. This leads directly to the second mechanism of the fraud, the housing crisis. Your inability to afford a home is not a personal failing. It is a direct consequence of this asset inflation. The homes that baby boomers bought for, say, 3 times the median income are now selling for 10 times the median income. Homes aren't just places to live anymore. They've turned into financial assets, traded like stocks. Now you're up against private equity firms and wealthy investors. Renting feels like throwing money away. With your hard-earned cash going straight to landlords who've hiked up prices thanks to policies that shut you out, it's a cycle of wealth extraction. That's why rent is sky high, why owning a starter home seems impossible, and why your paycheck disappears so fast. The third, and perhaps most cynical mechanism, is the tax code itself. This is where the heist becomes law. If a society were serious about preventing the formation of a permanent aristocracy, it would use a robust inheritance tax. We do the opposite. The federal estate tax, often dishonestly labeled the death tax, has been systematically gutted. Trillions of dollars in inherited wealth, mostly from policy-driven asset inflation, will be passed on tax-free. This isn't just a loophole. It's a choice to protect and grow dynastic wealth while leaving everyone else in the dust. It's a total scam, and it's built right into our laws. So what does this mean for your financial future? For you, the professional who earns a good salary but can't seem to get ahead, it means you're running a race with weights on your ankles, while the designated winners ride in a chauffeured car. Your high income, the reward for your expertise and hard work, is being relentlessly devalued by the high cost of living, a cost of living directly driven by the asset inflation that benefited others. The 2 primary pillars of wealth creation for the middle class, home ownership and stock market equity, have been transformed into barriers to entry. This cascades into the looming retirement crisis. You are paying into Social Security and Medicare, funding the safety net for the largest and wealthiest generation in history. Yet you are being systematically blocked from accumulating the very assets that would secure your own retirement. You are funding their present, while they, as a class, transfer their wealth in a way that sabotages your future. It's a generational pincer movement, and your financial security is what's being crushed in the middle. I want to be clear. This is not about blaming individual baby boomers. It's not your parents' or your boss's fault. This is about a system, a set of rules, a series of policy decisions made over decades that have one clear, undeniable outcome: the concentration of wealth and power into fewer and fewer hands, passed down from one generation to the next. It's a system that privatizes gains, socializes losses, and calcifies advantage. It is a systemic fraud hiding in plain sight. So we must abandon the comforting lie. The great wealth transfer is not your salvation. It will not rescue you. For the overwhelming majority, it is a statistical mirage. Recognizing this is the first crucial step. Your financial strategy cannot be predicated on a windfall that will never arrive. Your understanding of the economy must incorporate the reality of these mechanisms. The game has been rigged. The rules were rewritten before you even sat down at the table. The inheritance is not coming. The system is not designed to help you. It's time to stop waiting for a transfer and start understanding the heist.